Are you a storm the castle person, or do you like a long drawn out siege? This is probably a terrible analogy, and every analogy breaks down on some level, but I think it can be helpful to think about ourselves as INFJs, as people who have the energy to storm the castle. Before we jump into the video, if you would like to learn more about your INFJ personality, then I'd love to give you a free copy of my book, The INFJ Personality Guide. In the book, you'll learn about the mindsets that motivate you and cause you to do what you do as an INFJ. You'll also hopefully come away with an understanding that you're not messed up or broken, but just different, and the world needs the gifts that you bring to the table. To get a free copy of the book, visit infjbook.com. When you get a creative idea or inspiration for how to rearrange your house, or something that you've been mulling over for a while and it finally clicks, the intuition snaps, you get energized to accomplish the task. Maybe it's been building on the back burner. You finally have accumulated the knowledge you need to make a decision, and now it's time to act. And when you do act, you do it in a flurry of energy. This can feel a lot like going to storm the castle. You take all of your machinery and your troops and your energy and you bust in as fast as you can, as opposed to a siege that is a long, drawn-out process that can last months, where maybe you try to get under the castle walls, over them, you go through them, whatever it takes. But you are probably more of a storm the castle person. Now, the analogy breaks down, of course. I don't really want to encourage any kind of taking over of a castle, but the idea is there that as INFJs, we like to do things in a burst of energy. This really jumped out at me with my wife the other day, and we're quite opposites because she operates from a sensing perspective and a dominant one at that. So she's very good, and I know a lot of people like her are very good, like most sensors, at steady plotting, especially dominant sensors with introverted sensing. They can stick with something for years. This is the way the pyramids were built, to use another analogy, just sticking with something and building a world wonder. But INFJs don't excel at that. They are pretty amazing, however, at diving into a project and doing it well and knocking it out all at once. Or at least getting a running head start where they can really get the project up and rolling fast. Sometimes I get really excited about rearranging furniture. I know that's a common INFJ thing where you think, hey, maybe there's a better system or a better way to organize all this furniture. The other day, I dragged my exercise bike from the office all the way out into the living room because I thought maybe that'd be more efficient and I could set up my camera differently and use the bike differently. And instead of waiting, I had the energy to do it all at night. So that's why I'm taking this video like I am today, because I moved everything around and I had the energy to do it all at once. And my wife just said, "Oh, brother," or something to that extent, because she knew that I was going to take care of it all at once and move everything around. And that's the way it is often for me when I get an idea for a project or something that I want to start. I get all the energy and motivation to start a podcast or to work on a book or whatever the creative adventure is that you as an INFJ might want to dive into. You may tend to dive into it headlong. And what I want to encourage you with is that it's okay to operate that way. When you compare yourself with other sensing types, and there are a lot of them in the world, it can be really easy to think that you're messed up or broken because you're not a steady plotter. Maybe you go in for a month strong and you do a great job, but then you start to get bored and peter out. That was the way it was for me and still tends to be for me if I don't mix things up. As a teacher, the first month or two is energizing, and then things kind of just settle into the routine, and I'm not very good at steady plotting unless I can come up with a new project or mix things up somehow. But it's totally okay to jump in with a bunch of energy. And I want to encourage you to ride that wave. Don't try to be someone else. Do it the way that you've been wired to do it, and do it well that way. Work the way that you work best. And again, it is okay to operate that way. The big piece of advice to keep in mind, however, is that you probably need to keep it in check. So it could be easy, for example, to work and work and work and not take time to eat, or to work and not take time to get adequate rest. There are probably cutoffs in our lives, like taking a break for at least dinner. Maybe you skip lunch or whatever every once in a while, or you take time to stop and get a good night's sleep. Those are important things to take care of. Now, I'm not saying there aren't exceptions or times where you need to just keep going and riding the wave, but generally it's good. So if you work the way you are wired to work, and you also honor reasonable expectations for your physical limits, that can work really well for you. But experiment with different ways of being creative, and don't be afraid to ride the wave. Remember, you'll probably never be a steady plotter. That is a special talent of the sensing personalities, especially those that use introverted sensing like ISTJs, ISFJs, ESFJs, and ESTJs. I'm thinking of a doctor friend I have here. He said he doesn't have any particular special talent other than he can just stick with something for the long haul. In fact, that's how he made it through med school. And actually, he really enjoys biking now, even though he's in his 60s, I believe. He enjoys triathlons because you just put one foot in front of the other and you continue to work at it and keep at it until you finally accomplish what you began. And I'm not saying that INFJs can't do that, because they certainly can, and they can do it well, especially if we really believe in something and we want to do a project. We can stick with projects. Please don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying that we can't, but not to the same extent that an S-type personality, especially one of introverted sensing, can. So it's just good to keep in mind what our special abilities and strengths are. We all need each other, and we need to be exercising our gifts. So don't compare yourself with others. Do what you do well. And I think you'll be encouraged and motivated to keep going. I really appreciate what executive coach Bob Beal suggests, which is we should focus our energies on maximizing our special talents. And I think that certainly applies to us as INFJs. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Hope that it helps you. If you'd like to learn more about your INFJ personality, then check out these videos here, and I hope that they also prove beneficial to you as well. See you on the next show.